Hey everybody, it's Coach Powers here. Wow, that sounded very cheerful. That's a little too cheerful. Let me try again. Hey everybody, it's Coach Powers here. All right, that's not cheerful enough. Let me try one more time. Hey everyone, Coach Powers here with Powers Benzo Podcast, episode 3. Wait, I didn't say Benzo Powers Podcast. That's because I'm thinking we might need to change the name. You know, I had a few people write me, even in the comments, saying, you know, benzo powers. What are you trying to say? Benzos give you powers? This stuff is awful. What the hell, Dave? Why are you going to glorify benzos like it's some kind of wonder drug? Of course, that's not my intention. I just thought it was a good play on words for one. And two, I guess there was a little bit in the back of my mind, like, benzo powers, like the meaning there was some kind of silver lining. That's what I like to focus on, the silver lining of all tragedy or all challenges, right? Because there's two ways to look at it. You can look at it like, why me? This is hell. I'm cursed. There's nothing good that can possibly come out of this situation. But of course there are good things that can come out of this, meaning benzo withdrawal for one. But really any painful thing that you go through, I mean, if you look at it, there's an opportunity for something to be learned, to grow through it, to develop through it. Like there is a lot there, and I know for me and for a lot of my clients, coming through benzos required a entire lifestyle change. It required us to become very educated on a number of things regarding our mental health, our physical health, our families, our work, time management, stress management, all that stuff, anxiety, depression, you name it. And it really required us to revamp our life, nutrition, exercise. Like, we really dive down this deep well, and you have to come out of it like sort of forged, right? You have to come out of it a bit stronger and more fierce than you went into it. And so, in a way, yeah, I think benzos do give you powers. I mean, I look at my life now, and while I'm not, like I always say this to you guys, I'm not a beacon of mental health freedom or something. I mean, like, I'm not a superhero. I still deal with things. I still get anxiety. I still have stress. I still have depression in mood at times and things like that. But my ability to manage it has definitely improved exponentially. My ability to understand it, to see it coming, and to get on top of it and really do the things I need to do so that these things don't ever become big, whether it's dealing with health anxiety or depression or whatever, anxiety in general, stress in general. My life has a lot of stress. So stress management has become very important. If I want to do more things like make a movie, be a benzo coach, pursue an art career, learn a new trade even, write a book, whatever. The more stuff you get into, the more stress. So what are you going to do? You going to, run to the mountains and live like a monk? I mean, that's like the easy thing, is just to say, okay, declutter all stress out of my life for here on out. I'm just going to live on a mountain, or I'm going to, live by the ocean and just be the most simple person on the planet. Which, look, that is great. And if anybody wants to hand me a few $1 million, I will gladly go live on the beach near an ocean, right? So, but for most of us, that's probably not an option. And we have aspirations and things in our life that we want to do anyway. So if you want to start a business, if you want to work, if you want to be creative, if you want to try to climb mountains, for example, you just have to learn how to battle the stress and manage the stress and see the signs and things like that. When stress is coming, how do you, can you see it, and what steps will you take to prevent it from growing and really getting on top of you? Like, so these are the things that I thought were benzo powers per se, like the things that we took out of this. And sometimes there's silver linings, like maybe you were pre-diabetic or something, and, by refining your diet and things like that, that improved. Or you struggled with certain other issues, and by going through benzos, you had to become very refined and sharp on these things. Or maybe you went back to therapy just to help with some anxiety, but then you realized that you had some unresolved grief or issues in your life, and through therapy you were able to heal from that as well. So I thought, yeah, Benzo Powers podcast. But the more I thought about it, I think some of you guys are probably right. It does seem a little like I'm glorifying benzos, like it's a super drug, you know. Benzo gives you powers, like Red Bull. It's like a Red Bull commercial. Take benzos, they give you powers. No, that's absolutely not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you can extract good things out of most bad things. So maybe Powers Benzo podcast. It's a little boring. It's a little straightforward, but it's easy to understand. Offends nobody. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. As of now, Powers Benzo podcast. I think that's a good name. So moving on, Lake of Fire update. This film is the film that won't end. We've had so many setbacks between things like COVID and the lead actress is pregnant. We found that out like really early, so it was been a race against the clock as she's getting bigger and she's dealing with 100 or so more, kind of symptoms and byproducts of being pregnant, morning sickness, and all these type of things. It's just been a roller coaster for her, I know. And so, really everybody, we in scheduling conflicts and school with the younger actress and, just a ton of unforeseeable things really coming our way. And we've had to do a lot of rescheduling shoots, and then shoots that we went and shot that, like on the beach that we thought was great, but then we got there and the beach wasn't quite the way we had anticipated, and tide was coming in and the sounds were too loud, and we go, oh my God, we have to reshoot this now. We wasted a whole day. It's a lot of, it's enough to make your hair fall out, let me tell you. But all in all, moving, very close to the end. Great performances, looks good, sounds good. I think the story is compelling, and I just think, I'm very big on it. So almost there, guys. A little bit longer. I've been editing it all the way through, and actually I'm going to be acting in it. I don't know if I had mentioned that yet. I was actually had a lot of reservations about this. I didn't want to act in it. I was looking for an actor. And my team, my assistant directors, the few people that I'm really closely involved in making these films with, just kept, telling me like, no, you need to be the guy. You're the guy. Why are you going to go try to find a guy to play you? You're the guy. This is art imitating life is quite literally what this movie has become. It's art imitating life. Like, you're the guy. You're the benzo coach. You're this sort of Zen benzo coach that came through this and developed these ways of healing. And now are trying to help people and spread a positive message of recovery and all of these things, and how to recover using, certain psychological techniques that can help aid us and address the pre-existing condition, address the manifested condition. So it was just, I agreed. I was like, look, it is obvious, but I don't want to be the thing that stinks up this film. I don't want to be like, when you watch this film, you go, wow, these actors are all good, but this benzo coach guy sucks. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to, that's too much pressure. And I've only acted in a few things, and I'm learning, and so there was a lot of trepidation, believe me. But I said, but really, I'm a smaller part. The film's more about the protagonist and her sister and her family and her healing herself and using these techniques and things. But still, so yeah, it's been an emotional roller coaster for me as well, because I have so much pressure of not messing this up, giving a good, sincere performance, trying to find my character, which is not just, it's a film, right? So this isn't like a documentary. It's not just me sitting there being Dave, Coach Powers. I have to remember, like, well, no, I am playing a character to a point. And so blurring those two worlds are almost more difficult than just if I had come in with a character and said, okay, you're playing this character, go. You're a doctor, you're a veterinarian that lives by the ocean and works on dogs every morning, and sails his sailboat in the evening. Okay, I can wrap my head around that. To play this version of yourself is sort of strange. You're like, where do I end and where does this character begin? So all I can say is I'm giving it my sincere best. Yeah, so hopefully you guys like it. And the other thing was, I was worried about putting myself in this video or in this film, because I told my team, I was like, I don't want it to be an infomercial for Coach Powers. That's not what this is. I don't want it to be about me. This isn't like, it's not a big infomercial for me. Like, hey, if you like this film, come get some coaching. That's absolutely not what I want this to be. But again, it was art imitating life, and my team kept fighting me on it and said, look, I kept pulling up people. What about this guy? No, you're the guy, Dave. You're the guy. you're an artist, you're a Zen guy, you're a psychology guy. This is what you do. Why are you going to find someone and then try to train them and get them knowledgeable in all these different areas and have them fake it? Just go for it. So that's what I'm going to do. If it doesn't work, then when you watch the movie, you'll go, Dave's not in this. That's because I replaced my acting with another actor. Because I'm still deciding if I'm not better behind the camera altogether. But anyway, so there you go. Lake of Fire update. I will say this too. There's been other issues. You know, one of the main character, the protagonist therapist. You know, the role I was playing or I'm playing. I'm supposed to be an art therapist and a therapist that works as an artist as well. And initially, I was the protagonist's little sister's art teacher. So we went up to the college. We found this college in this small town near where I live, and we approached them and said, "Hey, you know, we're doing a pro health social, you know, with a film with a social message. You know, it's about overcoming benzos." And I said it's PG-13. There's no swearing. There's no sexuality. There's no graphic violence. It's not controversial. You know, it's a for the most part a pretty wholesome drama. It's the first feature film shot in this area, which should be a big deal for the county. And I said, how about you guys get involved? We want to shoot a scene in your art room here at the college. Very short scene, literally a minute long. A very small group of people working on it. And they seemed kind of interested at first, like, oh, great. The art teacher was very helpful. But once the bigger people got involved, the president, the vice president, the deans, then it was like small town, big ego syndrome began. You know, it was like, well, how much are we getting paid for it? And you need to have liability insurance, and that's $500 a day. And it's, you know, it's just like, oh, hold on. We're a small indie production. We can't afford $500 a day for a 1 minute scene, you know. And then they wanted a portion of that, and they were going to charge us their own fee on top. I mean, it was going to be probably $500 to $750 to $1,000 for a literally maybe a 30-second scene, 1 minute scene. It just didn't make sense in the end, and they dragged us along for a month and a half, and they were very rude to us in the end when we didn't want to pay that, and you know, and it's frustrating. You want to say, hey, look, this isn't Los Angeles, okay? I'm not working with Miramax or something. This isn't $100 million picture. I mean, and you're a college, you're very big in the arts in the community. Why wouldn't you just want to put your name on it? You know, I told them the news was covering it, the paper was covering it. It would be a good, good publicity for the college to step in and do something. It's really 30 seconds. We would be gone in an hour. They didn't want to help. They wanted money. So, you know, again, these are the unforeseeable things you run into when you're doing this, you know, when you're making a film, you know. So we will adapt and overcome, you know. So we will find another backstory for him. Maybe he's not an art teacher after all. Maybe he runs a gallery, you know, so we find a gallery. So that's where we are. I'm just giving you some of these little backstories for what they're worth, you know. It really is a process of adapting to what comes your way, because maybe unless you are $100 million picture, and even then I've heard stories, so many stories, you know, things change, unexpected things happen. You got to be willing to adapt, be creative, find creative solutions, and keep moving, you know. So that's Lake of Fire update. Moving on in the right direction. Almost there. Looking good. Can't wait to share it with you guys. Still time to donate some money if you want to help. We still have a few weeks of shooting at least, and then editing, and then we have to pay someone to do the scoring. You know, that's probably going to be another $1,000 at least. There's a lot of expenses, but again, I can't wait for you guys to see it. I mean, you've seen a couple of the clips. A lot better acting, a lot better stuff in store. So very excited, guys. And of course, we'll be doing the Benzo documentary later in the year. So I will be having more on that soon. And I'm going to ask you guys to help me in a lot of ways, from finding doctors, finding research people. I mean, I want to put our minds together and see if we can, you know, collectively share some resources on this. Okay. So The next thing I want to talk about quickly is some success stories. I have different people that I'm going to be interviewing because I always get asked, Dave, is there really any success stories? Do you really see? I mean, honestly, Dave, for real, just you and I talking here. You know, do you really see people heal? And I got to go, yeah, and not because I know I have to tell you that because of what, it wouldn't be very optimistic to tell you otherwise. Also, if nobody was healing, then it's sort of like, what the hell am I doing? You know what I mean? I'm not just your friend and your comforting partner here in this. I'm not just the guy that you call up if we do coaching and I just say, hey, it's all going to be okay. No, I believe it's going to be it's going to be okay because it was okay for me, and it was okay for people I've known personally, and it was okay for hundreds and hundreds of clients of mine. And it's just, I know that's the probability of it. That it will be okay, and we will come out of it, and we will get better. But I know it's a complex situation, and there's a lot of factors there involved. In recovery. What was our pre-existing condition? Did it get worse? Did other things manifest while we were in the middle of this hellacious journey back to recovery? For one, did we become agoraphobic? Did we develop panic disorder? Did we get dependent on other psychotropic drugs or medicine? There's a lot of things that can happen. And then you have this hypervigilant, wonky fight or flight center of the brain that you're left with for some years or some period after benzos, regardless. So that takes a lot of training, and retraining and lifestyle change. I mean, the truth is about benzo recovery is I believe it's very high for everyone, potentially, and even all the pre-existing stuff and all the stuff we've, manifest, all of it. It's very treatable, and we can make miraculous comebacks. If we're willing to do the hard work. And I watch a lot of videos, not just on benzos. Like, I do not limit myself to just the benzo community, and I would advise you guys to search out other things. There's one girl, God, I forget her name right now, top of my head, but she's amazing. She talks about health anxiety, and I started watching her channels recently, and I just love her, and I was like, wow, she is so similar to me. And I listened to her story, and she wasn't really she wasn't someone that, I mean, she tried benzos and everything, but she wasn't someone that was devastated by benzos. That wasn't her story. But she had health anxiety, and it just spiraled out of control. And when you listen to what she went through and all the things that she developed, I mean, my God, you would assume, if I didn't tell you that she hadn't taken benzos and came off benzos, you would listen to her story and say, she's a benzo person. She's a benzo warrior. And then when you hear how she recovered, and now she does coaching for health anxiety, and she's doing very well. She's very educated. I mean, on the topic, but I don't know if she's like academically really educated on it. But I mean, she's certainly pretty damn knowledgeable just through her own experiences. And she had to be, she had to figure out a lot of things to get better for herself, to recover herself, and again, this goes back to that silver lining of like, this is what benzos forces us to do, right? Or any kind of recovery from a, traumatic injury or mental illness or something. You have to learn all of these things that are going to aid you and lift you, and then you run yourself through the experiment. Will they work? So one of the things she spoke about, I mean, really everything she spoke of when I listened to her, I was like, this is, I mean, it's almost exactly my model as far as, okay, you have this stress response thing, this anxiety thing that's out of control, and we have to focus on that first, not the decorative branches that we can get led down. Meaning, if you have health anxiety, for example, work on the health anxiety, work on the anxiety part, just work on the anxiety part, because if your health anxiety is convincing you it's histamines, or you have trouble swallowing, or it could be a brain tumor, it could be a lung issue, it could be IBS, sleep, whatever the damn thing is, whatever it's presenting, we get fixated then on that thing. And it's like, okay, it's IBS, is it stomach cancer, is it this, it's that, I can't eat things. We become super phobic, and all the health anxiety, and even though the whole time we're talking about it as if we're completely lucid, we go, yeah, I know I got health anxiety, but this damn stomach thing. And it's like, but the stomach thing is largely a response to the health anxiety. It's almost a fabrication or misplacement of health anxiety run amok in the body. So we have to go back and say, don't go down the river of treating all the elements of the manifestations of health anxiety. Get back to the basics. How do you treat anxiety, right? So if you're dealing with, let's say, stomach issues, okay, great. Clean up your diet, get a probiotic, whatever you need to do, see a doctor, do all the right things, of course. But after that, work on the anxiety. Don't forget about that. Don't put that on the back burner. That should be first, right? So how do you work on anxiety? I mean, it's things, and going back to this lovely woman I was just talking about, she spelled out her curriculum, and it was like she started working on the anxiety. She started getting up and exercising, for one, every day. Because even if you're just walking, I mean, you got to lift weights and do a bunch of things, but walking a mile a day, even if you have to break it up in 10 minutes, and you walk 10 minutes every couple hours, you go and you walk 10 minutes or whatever, but it adds up throughout the day, and the idea is that you're draining this cortisol out of your body. That's what you're trying to do. You've got adrenaline and cortisol in surplus, just pouring through your damn body, and it's raising anxiety. And as anxieties raise, it becomes a self-fueling mechanism. The anxieties are focusing on things. The thoughts and fears of those anxieties release more chemicals. The chemicals release more thoughts and fears and ailments. The ailments create more chemicals. The chemicals create more fear and ailments. And then you're off to the races. And you're trying to treat it by, well, if I can get the ailments under control. But it's the anxiety causing so much of the ailments. That's the misconception, is that, well, if I just wake up on Monday and I'm having a good day, then I can just go out of the house and agoraphobia is gone. Or if I could just get this stomach thing under control, all my health anxiety removes. It doesn't. It just switches forms. It's there. It's just being misplaced. It's just looking for something to grip onto. Okay, it's stomach. Okay, it's histamine. Okay, now it's breathing issues. Okay, it's swallowing issues. It's headache. It's this. It's that. It's just manifestations of anxiety. So you go, okay, how do we treat anxiety? Go back to the beginning. Let's get this cortisol and epinephrine out of our body. We've got to, and even if you're not like just walking, stay busy all day. I mean, if you're really wanting to do something, you're moving, you're cleaning, you're setting goals all day. You look around your house, there's a dozen things surely that could be done, whether it's the laundry, the dishes, more ambitious projects like maybe laying some new peel and stick tile in the bathroom or something, or painting that old bedroom wall, or doing some yard work, or spring cleaning is one that I've been doing lately. That alone could keep you busy for 2 weeks if you just go through the each room in the house, and you're like, oh my God, I got the cabinets and this and that. Just find things and keep busy all day and keep productive. And one thing is, as you're keeping productive, you're not in your head so much. You're busy. You're being distracted. You're burning energy, which you're burning off cortisol and epinephrine. Great. So boom, two good things there. And then you're winning in a way, right? You're getting back to your life and you're accomplishing things. You're setting goals. Okay, I'm going to do all the laundry. You finish the laundry, a little bit of dopamine as a reward. That's that work and reward part of your brain that once we get really debilitated with anxiety, that kind of goes out the window. It's the last thing you really look at. So, again, we have to create a program for recovery in that regard, to address the anxiety full spectrum. Get a bunch of sunlight, do the exercises, set goals, drink a lot of water, maybe some lemon, make sure your diet's good, practice a good sleep hygiene, talk to friends, So these are all these things this lovely woman was talking about on her channel. And I bring her up because there's a lot of great coaches and great content out there on YouTube right now. I mean, and I encourage you guys to go beyond me and go beyond the Benzo community and look up, if you're having trouble sleeping, look up cognitive, insomnia, cognitive behavioral therapists for insomnia coaches. There's a couple great ones out there. Health anxiety. Look up some of these health anxiety people. These coaches, and look at their channels, listen to their content, read the comments, heed their advice. If it's agoraphobia, if it's depression, if it's general anxiety, if it's stress management, is it job burnout, is it dealing with family issues? I mean, there's so much out there. And I find that with the benzos, we feel so, first off, we put everything under the banner and the umbrella of benzos. And so then it's like we only want to talk to people that have gone through benzos. But as I've said before, and I've been doing this a lot more here lately, I have my clients, reach out to, or go to like say a health anxiety forum on Facebook or something. And I said, just go and see and look and read and tell me what you think. And they do. They come back and they go, my God, could not believe the overlap. You could have paid me and I would have believed you if you told me these people were all benzo people. The stories are so similar. And it's like, exactly. Because benzos itself isn't like strychnine. It's not just, it's like poison. It's the ripple effect of the cortisol and all the other stuff, that manifestations of what happens when with the GABA takes a hit like that, and cortisol's pumping and epinephrine and all these symptoms. It's the manifestations that get us. It's the anxiety going from a 3 to a 20 that gets you. It's the paralysis. It's the social isolation. It's the avoidance tactics that we take on to try to self-soothe. These are negative coping mechanisms, as you know. So we don't need to avoid. We don't need to isolate. We don't need to lay in bed. We don't need to ruminate. How do we do that? We have to get out of our head. We have to actively engage our recovery. We quite literally have to engage our recovery, guys. So anyway, as I said, this girl, she's amazing. I'm trying to find her name here. I'm like looking and I can't find it. I'll find it and I'll post a link because I just think she's terrific. Another person that some of you probably already have seen, I know I've been trying to turn some of you guys on to, is my friend Jennifer Swan. She's a PhD, I believe in sociology or psychology. She's worked as a therapist. She's going through benzo withdrawal currently. She's started as a client of mine and we've just become good friends, and she's been helpful for me as well. I mean, she's super knowledgeable, super sweet, super brilliant. And she's in the middle of her fight, and she started a channel, Jennifer Swan PhD. So check that out. She's got a ton of content on it. I think you might find it very soothing. I think she's a positive person in this community. I don't turn people on to other channels very often because there's so many negative ones, and I don't want you guys going. I would almost rather you guys just get off all the channels, including mine, and focus on, okay, here's the curriculum, go do it, get away from this stuff, because you are what you think and what you surround yourself. And if every day you're just surrounding yourself with this fear of benzos, I mean, how the hell are you going to break that? It's almost, you almost have to go to a deserted island and kind of, just remove yourself altogether for a sustained period of time. I mean, but if you can find good ones, if you can find people that are positive and helpful and motivated, then all the better, right? So check out Jennifer Swan PhD. She's awesome. So back to success stories. I want to talk more about success stories. And you see what I did there? I started with success stories. Then I started talking about another channel. Then I went into health anxiety. Back to this. I leave breadcrumbs. I do leave breadcrumbs. But I want to talk about some success stories. And I don't want to mention names, but I'm going to be bringing more people on this podcast. I would love to start having regular people on that have healed. And just not like super long, in-depth stories necessarily, but just, short interviews, and you can hear them and their stories and what they've overcome and where they are today, because we need that evidence, right? Otherwise, it's just like a myth. It's like dry land, in Waterworld. Like, we hear about it, but has anyone seen it? I mean, I have even people that doubt me, and they go, yeah, Coach Powers, was he really struggling? I mean, what do we know about this guy? Like, yeah, you got me. I faked it all so I could come back, and over a period of years, forge a small following on YouTube. I mean, that's just mental, but people do heal, and I get it. I mean, you don't hear enough of the good stories. All you see are the bad stories. I mean, how could you believe anything otherwise, But I have a couple of people in my mind, and one, I'll just name him B, and I'll tell you, this guy, B, he was making a great living, I think 6 figures, very motivated guy, very type A, go-getter, had the world in his hands, essentially, and he eventually got on benzos, had some stress, got on benzos. I'll just condense it because it's basically the same story with everybody. You know, they worked for a little bit till they didn't, got off of them, and so began his hell. Got back on them, slow taper, got back off them, and was making progress. Then had a setback after. Oh God, I'm gonna butcher his story, but it was a significant amount of time he had a setback, and at that point, the anxiety just and stress just kept raising, and to the point where he eventually lost his job, his house, his cush nice life, moves back home with his elderly parents, and has to start rebuilding himself, and it was just two steps forward, three steps back. He would make a little progress and he couldn't, and eventually he got on a very small dose of antidepressant. I can't remember which one, but he didn't want to take it. I think he took like a fraction of the smallest dose the doctor had even suggested, and it helped a little bit. I mean, mostly just to try to get him out of bed and get him doing the good holistic things like we've been talking about that he needed to do. And he did. He started to respond a bit. And then an amazing thing happened. He met this girl. And after that, I mean, he fell in love with her pretty quickly. And, there was a lot of challenges with that, I'm sure. But he was able to give it a shot. And I'm talking in the matter of months. I watched this guy go from, being pretty much debilitated to just climbing a mountain. And then probably within a year later, he looks great. He's doing amazing things. He's pretty much recovered completely. And it's just amazing. I mean, just to see him, it's an amazing turnaround. And I love that story because while it does encompass all the good things he should have been doing, and he was meditating and he was cognitive reframing and he was exercising and he was practicing good diet and sleep and all of these things, I mean, he was taking it serious. In the end, it was like love came, he found love, and love was able to lift him. Love is amazing healing, and not just in like some metaphysical, spiritual sense, but in the sense of love as a chemical. The dopamine, if you want to reduce it down to dopamine and oxytocin, like these ripple effects on the brain and chemistry, and it's amazing. It is amazing. It is better than an SSRI, and what it can do to the brain. Now, not all of us can go fall in love and have this fairy tale ending to our story. Some of us can, if we're willing to not be so afraid and take a risk a little bit, maybe. Some of us, many of us have a significant other. And so it's not about going and meeting someone and falling in love, but can we remember that connection that we have or had with our significant other, and can we build it? Can we get back to it? And something like that can start as small as, can we just cuddle on the couch every night for an hour or two? When we can't sleep, can we just cuddle? Can we just, whenever I'm really afraid, will you hold my hand? It's being around that person, and not just, a significant other. It could be family. It could be your pet, your friends. It's just, can we open ourselves and be more connected to people, even when we feel like we can't and we shouldn't, because a lot of that is it's a self-coping mechanism. Just isolate, avoid, isolate and avoid. It's too painful. I'm no fun. I feel bad. But look, everybody, when they're in pain and they're suffering, they could use some love. They can use some nurturing, right? So there's one thing there. Another person I want to talk about, we'll call him T. He's a guy that twice I saw him climb this mountain. First time went a little too fast. I think he was coming off, I want to say like 10 milligrams of Valium at that point after some years. And he was being strong. He was tapering, and he was getting beaten. And at first I was trying to help him, do the right things, and kind of how you got to approach it is very, very, very important, guys. The timing of the taper, building up your new skill sets and your new coping abilities before you get really deep into the taper. It's like turning a corner. I often say, you can't turn a corner, a 90-degree angle at 200 miles an hour. You'll fly off. You'll fly right off the track. So there is an art and there's a science to it. How do we weave through this? And so the first time I felt like it was a little too quick, a little too frivolous. We could have been taking things a little bit more seriously. And he got all the way off of it, and boom, he ended up right back on the same dose. Oh, he was so defeated. Couldn't believe it. Took him a year, and was just devastated. I said, hey, look, it happens a lot more than you realize. Sometimes it happens 3, 4, 5 times before we can beat it. Now let's look at what worked and what didn't work in that last ride. Okay, we synthesize things. Now let's reapproach this and let's take it a little more serious. Listen to me a little bit closer here. And so we started building that mental armor Teflon. You know, that mental armor, that neurological mental armor. You know, we started building that, and he was meditating more, and he was, you know, everything got refined, and exercise and all these things, and we went a little bit slower, and he did amazing. I mean, he actually, I think by the end of it, he tapered faster than the first time, I want to say, and he's now, God, I think he said 6 or 7 months off or something like that, I want to say, and he's driving across the country. He's spending time with his family. He's building things. He's doing all this amazing work, and it's just fantastic. I mean, every time I talk to him, it seems like there's a new thing coming back. You know, like a part of his personality coming back. More better days. You know, more windows and just everything. I mean, just, you know, the Benzo takes away everything. So it's beautiful to see someone winning and literally getting it all back, piece by piece, and being excited to go, oh my God, you know, this is coming back to me, or, you know, it's just so exciting. So maybe I can get both of these people on one day. I don't want to, you know, I never want to use anyone's real name or anything like that. I don't want to betray anyone's trust. I've spoken to a lot of my clients that have success stories, and most, if not all of them, have been completely on board with coming on at some point and talking, even if they kind of keep their identities anonymous. But those are two people that have recently been in my mind that I watched them go, you know, through hell. I've watched them have bad setbacks. You know, I watched them feel completely devastated and like it was impossible to heal. And then I watched them get it together, reapproach things, fight a little bit harder, a little more methodically, and pull themselves out of it. And not only heal, but like 50% or a little bit, but really make dramatic turnarounds. And they're still early out. And I say, look, if you guys are doing this now, give another year or two of just doing what you're supposed to do. That's the thing about it, right? So if we're managing stress and anxiety, that needs to be a long-term plan. It's not just, okay, what do I need to do to get through this hump? And then I can relax. That's what we do, right? It's like type 2 diabetes. Like, all right, you're verging on type 2 diabetes. You need to cut the sugars out and exercise, lose 20, 30 pounds. All right, we cut the sugars out, we exercise, we drop 20, 30 pounds. We go to the doctor. Doctor says, hey, your blood work's looking great. Great, good job. What do? We start eating a little more sugars again. We get relaxed on the diet and the exercise, and it all creeps back. That's the process, right? And it's no different with mental health. But that's why you have to develop a lifestyle change, something that you can stick with. You know, it's got to be a lifestyle change. It's a new way of life. You wake up. What's the first thing you do, guys, when you wake up in the morning? Get out of bed. Get your asses out of bed immediately. Wake up. Look at the clock before you go, oh God, the anxiety monster, it's sitting on my chest. I can't do it. What am I? Get up. Just get up. That's step one. That's step one in the process. Get up, get a glass of water, maybe some caffeine-free green tea, which is great, has L-theanine in it, and a ton of health benefits. It can help fight anxiety. I think it's a great way to, in the morning, caffeine-free green tea, and get outside to nature. I don't care what the weather's like. Get out there. Put your feet in the ground, into the soil, you know, sit out in some sunlight, drink your tea, drink your lemon water, take some deep breaths, try not to get in your head immediately. It's not a time to come out here and then start ruminating, but just sit out there and take 5 minutes to look at the trees, look at, you know, everything around you, essentially. So again, get outside, put your feet in the dirt, look up at the sky, look up at the trees, look up at the, you know, any nature around you. I mean, nature is such a healing element. We know that. And get grounded. Just get grounded into nature. And then from there, you know, spend the next 10, 15 minutes just sort of being present. Practice some gratitude. What are you thankful for? There's things in your life you're thankful for, people, things like that. Reframe. Start with focusing on the good. Get some good chemistry going. And then from there, we can start to think about what we're going to do for the day. You know, okay, I'm going to do all the laundry. I'm going to clean out the cabinets. I'm going to work on a new drawing or a painting or a poem or a puzzle, or, you know, I'm going to go for a walk at noon around the block, or whatever the thing is, you know, whatever the things are. That's when we start, developing our strategy, our goals for the day. So, that said, guys, I want to talk a little bit more about graded exposure therapy and classical conditioning. Now, my approach to exposure therapy, a lot of people do more. What they really do is flooding, which I've talked about a lot, which is simply, if you're afraid of driving over a bridge, go drive over a bridge if you're not afraid anymore. There's really no graded to it. It's just go drive over the bridge. And I approach a graded exposure, meaning we could, and it differs for everyone, but it could literally start, and usually starts with just thinking about the bridge a little bit, just a little bit. Not even committing to thought, the full driving over the bridge. It might literally start with us thinking about driving over the bridge and beginning with grabbing our keys, getting dressed, getting our keys, getting out in the car, starting the car, pulling out the driveway, and heading up the road in the direction of whatever this bridge is. We could do that exercise a dozen times. We could do that exercise 30 times before in our visualization we ever get to the bridge. There's no rush to this. The idea is just to provoke a little bit of anxiety and then lull it back down. Provoke a little bit of anxiety, lull it back down. The brain will finally it gets lazy, and it says that what the hell am I getting freaked out for? It's not helping this person. There is no threats. All they're doing is driving, and so it stops that anxiety response. Then we can go a little further. Now we're driving up to the bridge. Now we're going up the bridge a little bit. We turn around, we come back. So there's a whole process to it that's very important. And now on top of that, I want to say I also approach this, again, not just as graded exposure, steps to it, but from a perspective of classical conditioning, meaning, and I've talked about this a lot, it's Pavlov. It's, you show a dog a bowl and ring the dinner bell. You show a dog a bowl of food, and you ring a dinner bell, and before you know it, and the dog salivates, but before you know it, you could ring the bell, not even show the dog the food, and he begins salivating because he's associated the bell with food, and the salivating is a response to the food, right? So we start to classically condition these things. Well, this can work for good or bad, and that's actually unfortunately how all these damn phobias begin. We start to associate whatever, whether it's a histamine, it's a stomach issue, it's sleep, it's bridges, it's whatever, we associate them with, A with B stimulus, and we eventually associate them with danger. And it's unfortunate, And so part of getting better is kind of unassociating, relearning to break those associations, those faulty associations. It wasn't the bridge that caused you a panic attack. For example, it wasn't the bridge. There was nothing about the bridge, the altitude, the air, the road structure, nothing that was actually creating this chemical problem in your head. It was, what it was this perceived danger of the bridge. Because you could have a panic attack on a bridge, and then every time you start to go over the bridge thereafter, your brain is on guard, and it says, "Oh God, last time we were on this bridge, we almost died. I need to set this panic alarm off so that this person does, so the body doesn't go back into the situation and put themselves in harm again." It's trying to help us, right? So classical conditioning is, that element of healing with graded exposure, it begins oftentimes in the bathtub. Or in a hot tub. I mean, I want you guys to get your body feeling warm, feeling in your body. Maybe during a meditation or during a massage is another great one. I think massage and a hot tub or a bathtub are as good as it gets, really. And you lay there and first you just work on relaxation before anything else. It's all relaxation. So if you're asking, what is Coach Power's approach to exposure therapy? It first begins with classical conditioning before we ever get into the graded exposure therapy stuff. And it's just learning to relax, learning to meditate, getting the brain. And that is a skill set, guys. I cannot say that enough. I know a lot of you go, "Well, I've taken bath, Dave. I breathe, Dave. I meditate, sure, whatever." And I get it. I can empathize with those feelings for some of you, Yeah, it does. It seems so trivial. But don't look at it as a just an abstract, ambiguous thing that you do, that you've done. Look at it as a skill set. I mean, something as simple as learning how to do slow, deep breathing. That's a skill set. It's not just as, okay, I'm going to slow, deep breathe, boom, I'm good at it. No, the body's doing resisting. It's doing weird stuff. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. I mean, I like to begin with a 4-2-6, 4-second inhalation, hold for 2 seconds, exhale for 6. Wim Hof goes way past that. And there's monks and other people that meditate and go even further past that and have even better results. But you don't begin there. You have to start small. And when you're going through this, as many of you know, just being focused and being able to breathe in a rhythm and a certain cadence or certain, timing for even 5 minutes is damn hard. Your brain's jumping everywhere. Your body's doing weird stuff. It may even be hard to even get the breath right. So there's definitely a skill set that needs to happen. There's a neurological muscle memory that happens only through repetition, guys. It's a repetitious exercise, and you have to keep doing it, and you have to keep doing it. Anything you do in repetition, you will get better at. I don't care if it's sweeping the floor or whatever, and breathing is just as important. So we may spend weeks in the bathtub just breathing. That's it, just breathing, and just trying to open the door of getting a window of relaxation, even for 10 seconds. Because when you're really suffering with benzos, you're not going to relax. You're not going to get big, most of us don't get big windows where, oh man, I went in there and did what Dave said and meditate in the bathtub, had a great time. I understand that's not the case, guys. And it wasn't for me either. But you're trying to punch holes in that black film over your brain and let the light in. And like I said before in many videos, at first it's like just little needle punches. It's just a trickle of light comes in every now and then. But if you keep getting enough trickles of light, you eventually start to increase the light. You get more and more light. Those holes start to get bigger, And so that's the goal of it. It's just to spend some weeks at first meditating and breathing and focus on positive imagery, maybe listen to positive affirmations and associating that bathtub with this is my timing where I try to access good chemistry and mental health. Once we get into that routine where you can honestly say, yeah, I think this is a therapeutic. Once you can actually say, this is therapeutic, now we're ready to start adding the graded exposure stuff. So now I have the conditioning. I have the dinner bell, right? Now I want to start thinking about the response. I want to think about the driving to the bridge, getting the keys, getting dressed. I'm going to the, that's enough to bring up anxiety. Oh, God, I got to drive to this bridge. Oh, my God. Oh, the breathing's getting heavier and your heart rate's starting to go up. And no, now it's just fight the anxiety. That's all we're fighting is anxiety. It's an anxiety response. So we bring in the cue, whatever the bridge, whatever for this example, just think of it for a moment. The heart rate gets up, a little adrenaline gets jolted, and then we go immediately back to the exercise of relaxation, and we breathe, and we slow our deep breathing. We activate that parasympathetic nervous system with that slow, deep breath. We focus on the warm water and the relaxation, and we let it, and we use that to melt away and relax every cell of our body if possible. And we'll watch our heart rate comes back down, the adrenaline dips back down, and we've won. Okay, we repeat the exercise, and we repeat the exercise. And before you know it, laying there, you get relaxed, then thinking of even driving to the bridge, suddenly it's not that big of a deal anymore. And we push it a little further. Well, now I'm going to think about being on the bridge. Maybe I'm walking on the bridge. Maybe I'm fishing on the bridge. I think whatever you do with this bridge isn't just about being relaxed and then thinking of this scary thing, but reframing that scary thing. If you can look at the bridge and say, yeah, it is scary, and the thoughts of getting broke down on a bridge or paralyzed there and having a panic attack and all those fears that we have, sure, those are legit. But also if we look at it and go, this bridge is beautiful, and look at the view and the wind, and it feels so good in the sunlight, and maybe the bridge is going over the ocean or some body of water, and then look at the sun setting or the rising on the bridge, and it's just so pretty. It's the reframing of it is everything, my friends. It's every damn thing. Find the good. I mean, you're literally actively engaging and reprogramming your brain at this point. That's what this exercise is. So start with classical conditioning, classical conditioning yourself to relax. Then we start with the graded exposure, visually, mentally, emotionally, Then we start to gradually uh, do some graded exposure in the location. So at this point, we would actually get in the car and just sit there and get ready to go to the bridge, but never leave, just to see how long it would take, maybe a week. We're sitting in the car, we're dressed, we're prepared to go to the bridge, but we never do. All we're doing is getting that, because now we've gone for the mental projection of going to the bridge. Now we're actually in the car. Oh, this just got a little bit more serious, but it's okay. We're not leaving. So you sit there in the car, you do your breathing exercises, you relax, you put on some nice music, you revisualize the bridge, you talk yourself down, you lull yourself down. It's okay. There's no grizzly bear. There's no need to panic. And you do that enough, and eventually sitting in the car, ready to go to the bridge, it's no longer a trigger. And then we start to drive to the bridge. And then we get to the bridge. Then we drive up the bridge. I mean, you see how it works here. It's like I said, it's graded. It's step by step, systematic. And I can tell you guys, in as short as 2 months, I have seen amazing things. People who couldn't leave their house to suddenly grocery shopping and driving over bridges, because that's a big one. So there's amazing progress that can be done. It's scary. It hurts. It's a pain in the butt, but damn can it work. Okay. So that's it in a nutshell. Powers Benzo podcast episode 3 here. I want to say one more thing about dealing with health anxiety. I know I've been kind of jumping around all over the place in this podcast today, but again, I want you to look at your health anxiety, because look, first off, 98.9% of us have health anxiety going through benzos. I say 98 to be like almost politically correct here. It's 100%. I've never had a client that on some level didn't have health anxiety. It is just that common. So what's important is we first deal with health anxiety by dealing with health anxiety. I know I'm being a little redundant because I've said this, but I just want to reiterate it because it's so damn important, guys. Whatever you're going through, again, it's somatic, it's in the body, it's fears. Is it MS? Is it Alzheimer's? Is it Parkinson's? Is it dementia? Is it stomach cancer? Is it some kind of weird throat disorder? Is it lung disorders or brain tumors? Is it this tinnitus, for example? It's the anxiety that's increasing all of those symptoms, my friends, right? So take something like tinnitus, and they've done a lot of studies on this, and a lot of people can have it, the ringing in the ears, and it's not that the ringing in the ears, not even by level of severity, that they are finding that causes the most distress, right? Because they found many, many people that have tinnitus, doesn't even really bother them. They go, oh yeah, I got ringing in the ear. Now I knew this was true, growing up as a musician, because I had ringing in the ear well before benzos. Played in heavy rock bands, went to a lot of rock concerts. I don't know how I'm not deaf. Shit, that stuff should have come with a warning, a warning label or something. I don't know. I just say, hey, rock and roll, loud amps. You're standing up front stage next to 18 speakers, 12-inch speakers blasting you in your face. So I played a lot of loud music in my garage with my band, things like that. And I know in my left ear, I started to really, really develop tinnitus, and it was really bad for a while there, especially in my left ear. And so I met a lot of musicians, and it was very common amongst electric guitar players, metal guys, rock guys. Oh my God, like 80% of them had some level of tinnitus. Some of them was bad. Some of them was deafening. But I noticed these guys weren't like bent out of shape about it. They weren't really overly anxious or something. It was like, oh yeah, I got some of that. It was just like an old football player. Oh yeah, my knees hurt a little bit. Yeah. It was just so common, and they didn't have this anxiety. They weren't all seeking treatment, and they weren't, talking about it was driving them crazy and all of this. And so what I'm saying is, it's not just the prevalence of something like tinnitus, it's our reaction to it, right? So what they didn't have is they didn't have an anxiety that was clamping on to the tinnitus, making it worse. And then that fueling a bunch of health fear of like, am I going to go deaf? Will this ever stop? It's driving me crazy. You become obsessive about it. You just become absolutely obsessive about it. And obsessiveness is another feature of anxiety, and it's another huge byproduct of benzo withdrawal and recovery. So that's how it works. And so they found that it's not the tinnitus exactly, but our response to it. So that's why cognitive behavioral therapy has been actually really darn helpful in treating tinnitus, because it starts to help us reprogram our response and break apart these associations that are fueling our fears around it. So again, it's not the thing, it's our response. So by dealing with the anxiety, the response to tinnitus got improved, and indeed tinnitus improved, right? But you could go down this rabbit hole where you're just trying to fix the tinnitus. You're looking for hearing aids and all white noise machines and all kinds of stuff. Maybe it's supplements, But what you really need is to work on the anxiety and the health anxiety that surrounds the tinnitus, because it can absolutely become like a health anxiety. It can absolutely become like tinnitus phobia, So it's very important that we get that under control. And deal with the anxiety first. That's my advice, guys. Deal with the anxiety first. Don't worry about the decorative branches. If it's diet, do what you can. Whatever you need to do to treat all the things, fine. Treat them. Be smart about it. But then go, how do I treat anxiety? Just in general. What is anxiety? What is the chemicals? What do we know that works? Yeah, cognitive behavioral therapy works. Exercise works. Sunlight, diet, all these things. I mean, I've put out many things about it. I've got a whole program that focuses on 6 neurotransmitters, lulling and pushing exercises, this sort of yin and yang approach to recovery, and then encompasses at least 10 or more dimensions of recovery. And so, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, healing is a part-time job. There's enough to be done for any of us to keep us busy at least 3 or 4 hours a day in our recovery. So start there and start working on that anxiety first. Don't get, we're chopping the tree down from the trunk, not the decorative branches. We're not up there trying to pick every apple. And as you're picking every apple of fear, just more apples are growing, and you never get on top of it, and you just get overwhelmed. Chop it down from the trunk. Figure out the anxiety source, the source of health anxiety, which is anxiety. It's cortisol, it's epinephrine, it's thoughts, it's beliefs, it's symbolism. It's a lot of those things, and let's start working on it there. So again, deal with anxiety first by dealing with anxiety, not secondary. So whatever you're going through, put that on the back burner. You've done everything you could do. Now let's start just to work on the anxiety. Let's just say if you have agoraphobia, let's work on the agoraphobia. If you have social anxiety, let's work on the social anxiety. If you have depression, let's work on the depression. If it's self-esteem, if it's self-efficacy, if it's loneliness, if it's, just anxiety in general, if it's stress in general, which look, coming off benzos is a stress disorder. That's how I would classify it, as a stress disorder. I would classify it as benzo-induced complex PTSD, but that's a whole nother podcast. But what is PTSD? Traumatic stress disorder. It's a stress problem. And I'll leave you with this. I say this all the time, guys. Every day you wake up and you have a cup full of cortisol and epinephrine, adrenaline and stress response neurotransmitter in your body in surplus. Cortisol keeps you awake. It keeps you fried. It works as an anti-inflammatory. The adrenaline keeps your heart pumping. It keeps your elevated stress levels ready to evade danger. And this is happening all day. And this is happening just on a biological level first. But once the mind gets in there and then starts to dramatize and add things and create these new webs for us, oh my God, a problem that might be a 5 can go to a 10 easy. So we have to simplify things, get back down, look at it as a chemical problem and say, okay, I'm waking up every day with so much cortisol and epinephrine. How do I remove this? And the short is, and the best tried proven answer is movement. Move, move, move. Second, get out of your head. Get to sunlight, get to nature, move, have projects, keep busy, move, get out of your head, keep on moving. By the time you come out of benzos, you should look great. You should, you're ready to be a damn fitness trainer, pretty much. You're a Zen fitness trainer by the end of this journey. All right, my friends. Well, there's some thoughts. I wanted to do another podcast before it got too late. I've got to go shoot a film, some of this film today. I will talk to you guys soon. Much love. Godspeed. If you enjoyed this, please hit the like maybe subscribe or leave me a comment. It helps me get these videos out. I know that's everybody says that, but it does. You know, the more you guys, it takes 1 second, hit that like button, you know, maybe leave me a comment. It just helps get the video kind of circulating, and maybe we can reach more people. So if you did enjoy it, cool. If you didn't, hey, I'll try to do better next time. Much love, guys. Keep strong. And yes, there's life after benzos.